the job market is settling. Now, what's going on, taking place in the last year or so is planning for how to make our marketing and business analytics programs a little bit stronger, a little bit better for students that major in our particular disciplines. What we've done specifically is, in the marketing side, we've added a little more digital marketing focus, as well as marketing analytics. And then on the business analytics side, besides modifying some courses, we've also added cybersecurity, because security of data is just as important as the processing of data. So I say that because those are things that we're trying to do to make sure the program is much better for you. Now, one thing that we do is we try to take you guys to professional activities. We have 3 strategic partners: ISACA, Tech Titans, and AMA. They host us, whether it's luncheons or guest speakers, and what they try to do is bring you guys into the conversation. Now, what I asked a couple of students that have gone to these events is to stand up and give you guys a word or two about what those programs are like, what those events are like. So we have Igor and just want them to share what, sorry. Go ahead and share just a brief word or two about what types of things that they experience and what it's like.
Thank you all.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so my first experience actually attending the Tech Titans conference. I'm a second-year graduate student, so I hadn't attended one before, which put me a little bit behind schedule. And my background is not in business, so everything was very, very new. We attended along another 10 students, but one thing that Dr. Myers did was to emphasize how important it is to network and network in a proper way. We were given a small handout where we learned a little bit more of what the do's and, more importantly, the do-nots are for the business analytics networking procedures and what's important to them, which I found very, very, very helpful. So thank you, Dr. Myers, for giving that outreach. One thing I found surprising a little bit is how much more technology there is available, other than what we learned in the classroom, and basically what awaits us once we get our first internships or the first job, and how many technologies you have as an option to pick your career field in, which, once again, coming from a non-business, non-technical background, I found very helpful. At the same time, very, very intimidating, because I stepped into a room with professionals, and we would carry a conversation, and I wasn't exactly sure if I was presenting the right image to them. However, as you talk to more and more people, you gain the experience with it that comes. You learn to relax a little bit, and eventually they kind of guide the conversation in your direction. So once again, thank you very much to Dr. Myers who's put that on, and anyone that came.
Yeah, so we went to the Tech Titans event on the second one, which topic was, what's your social media worth? So our marketing and business analytics student organization, every fall semester, Dr. Myers sponsored this event, which we go and talk to different professionals. So this is one of the biggest opportunity for all the students to meet all the corporate leaders, and you can talk to them, you can share what you have learned, and you can connect what their skills are, and you will know about a lot of technologies, you will meet a lot of people. It's a great platform for a great learning opportunities for all of us. So the last Tech Titan events, the speaker was Stan Woodward, the CEO and co-founder of MVP Index. So he discussed about the marketing and sponsorship questions that inspired him and all the co-founders of the MVP Index. The company uses social media listening, monitoring artificial intelligence and analytics to measure, rank, and calculate the social value or relative media dollar equivalency of brands, leagues, teams, athletes, and all the entertainers. And this company, with the success story, we learned from the CEO of the company. So thank you so much, Dr. Myers, for organizing this kind of events and making opportunities for all the students. So next, we will carry on.
So go ahead, have a seat. So the reason I want them to share it with you is what they get out of the event. And one thing you got to remember is when you go into the job market, now you're there. And so I think the best thing that we can also do for you, besides taking those events, is let the speakers come and talk about the transition from being a student as they saw it, and then being active in the professional environment. What things do you have to be prepared for? And one thing you forget as a student is once you get on the job market, now you're there. So if it takes you, on average, anyone, tell me, how long do you think it takes to find a job? Any guesses? How many months?
6 months.
6 months. Okay. So if it takes about 6 months to find a job, which is actually probably an old number, 4 or 5 years ago, it may take longer or shorter depending on like recessionary periods and so forth. But think about it. If it takes 6 months to find a job, if you start after you graduate, then you could be as long as 6 months later finding a job. That means you rent an apartment or you move somewhere, and if you don't find a job, then of course you won't be able to pay your rent. Does that make sense to everyone? So the emphasis I try to put on is you should look for a job before you graduate, so that, because I think they will agree that if you don't graduate, if you haven't graduated, they still can hire you with the start date of after graduation. So I want to emphasize it because if you wait until you graduate, the likelihood of you finding a job, and women, the speed of finding a job probably is more built on your credentials or the discipline you're in than anything else. It's not you. It's if you're a history major, and I don't know much about history, but if you're a history major, think about it. If you're not trying to be a history professor, I'm not sure how many jobs require a history degree. Okay, they're shaking their heads. They're not sure either. Because we're all business majors. So, and the reason I just emphasize that is, well, if you major in a discipline that growth in it, then you're probably not going to find a job. I'm not saying history is bad. I'm just saying that it's had probably slow growth for all of my adult life. So I want to emphasize kind of being prepared for the job market as much as possible. So the second thing that I want to emphasize is something that we're trying to do in the department just to get you guys more prepared is we're trying to develop internships internal to the department. And so I'm just going to come forward, Sade, and talk about what she's been doing in preparation for the business analytics internship in the spring. So if you don't mind, just come forward. And the reason why we're developing an internal internship is because we got to find more opportunities for students to be able to get an internship even later. Sometimes it's better to have 2 internships if you can. Maybe one may be a smaller opportunity, and of course you apply for a bigger opportunity, maybe out of the Fortune 500 countries, because we've made your potential much stronger. Any questions so far? Is it making sense to y'all what we're talking about? Okay. I know there are 3 different specific disciplines, but I think some of the questions they answered are going to apply to all types of majors. Preparation for a job market, some things that research and so forth. Those things are going to apply to every major. Obviously, the type of job you are more qualified for will speed some of the chances of you finding a job. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'll be talking about the internship guideline, the marketing and business analytics department have coming up for this spring. The College of Business I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, the College of Business is seeking business analytics intern to analyze the website data accurately and preferred recommendations on the current marketing efforts. So currently, the College of Business, they have a website and they are looking for students in the business analytics major who would have access to the website's data through their Google Analytics account, and then you'll be able to analyze the data and then make recommendations to them at the end of the day. The goal of the program is to give a student the opportunity to apply classroom theory to real-world situations, thus enhancing the students' academic and career goals. It's going to be a 12-week program with the Department of Business Marketing and Business Analytics. The program is designed for students in the Business Analytics program, and then the intern is going to work with a faculty advisor who's going to tutor the intern with each stage of the project. The student has to be admitted into the Texas A&M Commerce College of Business. You must have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. You must be in good standing with the university and the College of Business. And then you must have completed a minimum of 6 to 9 credit hours. So students who are just coming in newly won't be able to participate, but they have to have taken at least 6 credit hours. Just for clarification, the maiden edition starts in the spring of 2018 with 1 full intern and supporting interns, which will be made up of a winning team for the data analysis competition. There's going to be a competition at the end of the day. The College of Business, as I said earlier, already has a Google Analytics account. So you're going to be provided data from this website, and then you'll be given, you'd have to analyze the data and then come up with recommendations to the team. The winning team will have the opportunity of working as a full intern in the fall semester. For the supporting interns in the spring, there'll be no cost, there'll be no credit earned for the spring, but going forward, you can take it as a credit. Benefits of the internship program. You have a chance to work with real data. You have a chance to qualify for the internship through the competition. It's an opportunity to enhance your resume. Some of us don't have any experience before this, so this is going to be a good opportunity for you. And then you have the ability to work with outside companies, be able to develop your skills to work with outside companies. The job description basically would involve analyzing the College of Business websites, specific on-site behaviors that will trigger the goals and events. So you have access to the data. What you have to do is to analyze it. Who are those visiting the website? What are their behaviors? What are they looking for? Analyze Google Analytics interpretation and data output to determine the data quality and integrity. You will report creation. Report creation would focus on specific channels and performance metrics. Mapping reports around the departmental needs and in an easy to digest, meaningful format. So at the end of the day, you'll be given access to this account. Your data analysis should be able to provide a solution, and you should have it compiled in a meaningful way that people will be able to understand. Okay, so now just to show us the platform of the account for Google Analytics.
How many of y'all have ever looked at Google Analytics? Okay, just 2 or 3. Okay. Now, I know most of y'all have no interest in data and analytics. However, in the future, and I'm going to use the gentleman up front to verify this, more and more decisions are going to be based on the data that somehow you get at your company. More and more and more, because they have the data. Now, they don't always have someone to process the data in order to look for meaningful insights readily. but eventually they will start to migrate more and more people to those areas. And so what we're trying to do is try to provide the opportunity to you guys sooner than later.
Really? Can you verify your comment?
Well, the reason I wanted to go ahead and wait just a minute and let her see for you all to see the website is because we actually, so you visit our website, I'm sure most of you all go to your particular major's website, click on a few links just to get a feel for what kind of information is there about your major and so forth. Well, what we're trying to do is analyze our websites within our own department. The reason if we do that, it's the same thing as a separate company doing the same thing, right? Well, what we also need to see is you can see real time and how big changes are being made. So hopefully they can show it to you, but it can be updated. And so whenever the marketing communications makes a change to our website, well, we can go to those particular to see how many more people are visiting. And as well, we can track. Now, of course, we don't know each individual person, but we can track. Is that a person outside of the country? Is that a person in a certain state? So we can see who are these more frequent visitors. I wanted them to be able to show that because I think that's kind of interesting to see. You can see certain particular links that are getting a lot more traffic than other links. Okay, we'll go ahead and dismiss that.
Okay. Well,
These are some of the pages she has.
okay, I was trying to show you like the real life on-time data, but this is just a screenshot from the Google Analytics account. You'll be able to view your audience, your page views means how many people visited your website, what the time frame they visited, how long they spent on the site. And then you can also, these are the different programs we have under the College of Business website. You can see the average number of time, the entrances, and the bounce rate. The bounce rate is the number of times someone just mistakenly or get into the website. Probably that was not where they wanted to go, and then they leave immediately. So with all this data, you can do an analysis of how many spent on your website. You have the organic search. These are traffic from such as Google, Bing, and Yahoo, and then the cost associated with all of this traffic. So from Google Analytics website, you just get a lot of data, and then how people interact with your website, the age of your audience, the countries they are from, the number of times and hours they spend on it. And then with this data, you can make recommendations and business decisions to the faculty on what to do to improve their marketing efforts. Yes. This is just like a behavioral visualization of how many people were on the website, the number of minutes they spent, and all of that. If you have any questions or you can inquiry, these are the people you can contact. We have the email for the College of Business and then for the Marketing and Business Analytics organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to be passing out some blank sheets of paper. So if you have a question that you want to just write up, and we can ask the guest panel. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our guest panel, and we're going to ask them to start off with a little bit about themselves and maybe one suggestion they have for you all from throughout their career. and it's open-ended as far as their career path, because they may want to share something that may be more specific to the job market or more specific to networking or what have you. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. We'll go ahead and start it. Will Mr. Jack Cook start off?
I'm Jack Cook. I'm currently a member of the faculty here at A&M Commerce and in the management department. These days I'm an adjunct. I'm only teaching one graduate class this semester, which gives me more time for golf with Chris and others. I retired from L3 over in Greenville after 34 years. I retired as Senior Vice President of Air Force Programs over there and came to do, which is teaching here in the business school. One piece of advice I'd offer you relates to previous subject. One of the jobs I have here is to help facilitate internships for the management students with companies in the area. One real competitive advantage that you would have in a job interview is to have some experience behind you and something on your resume besides, I made sandwiches at Schlotzsky's, right? Not all jobs are created equal. Not all summer jobs are created equal. Find a job, find an opportunity that's in the stream that you want to work in. Look for internship opportunities. Look for an opportunity to get into a professional organization and learn something about, you know, the discipline that you're interested in, and just to get a sense of what the environment is like, you know, working in an organization that maybe you aspire to go into. It will genuinely help you in a job interview and really help you probably in terms of your credibility, you know, with the company you're trying to get on with.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay Demler. I am a senior principal IT architect for Raytheon Systems over in McKinney, and I'm very glad to be here. Dr. Myers actually invited me back. I work on large IT systems for Raytheon. If you're not familiar with it, it's a large defense contractor. We do contracts with the Department of Defense, NASA, Department of Homeland Security, things of that nature. And I work on kind of large back-end systems as my day-to-day. Working on things like Windows 7 to Windows 10 transformation, working on large ERP systems, working on large, mail, moving from, on-premise systems to migrating the company into the cloud. If I had to give you one tip, and I think the best tip that I can give you, and just reflecting on my life and things that I've seen in my friends and family, is, at the age that you're at, when you graduate here with your degree at 22 or 25 or whatever age you are, you can take risks and take advantage of your youth and the, just your position in life more so than anyone at this table. We're bogged down, and I don't use the word bogged down, but we have families and house payments and car payments and tuition payments to make for children and things like that. You don't have that now, and I encourage you to take the time to do it is now once you graduate. It's not when you're 40 years old and have 2 children and a car, a wife who doesn't want to move to California. But take advantage of that, and take risks. And I don't want to say you should go, bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane or anything like that. But if it's your dream to work in Silicon Valley, if it's your dream to work in government, if it's your dream to start a company, you can do that now. That you can take risks and you can make choices that we can't, because we have all this. Married and you have children and you have these responsibilities. We just don't have that. That's why companies like Facebook or things like that are started by young people, because they can take those kinds of risks. And if they fail, well, that's fine. They can go get a job later. Seattle or whatever, and it doesn't work out, you can always come back. But I would, I think looking back when you're sitting at this table, you'd be much happier to say that even if it didn't work out, I'm glad I took that risk then, instead of just saying that, oh, I never took it and
That's great advice, by the way. That's really good advice.
He's got like 3 tuition.
Now I've got to top that, right? My name is Butch Haskins. 27 years ago, almost to this month, I was sitting right there in your shoes. I graduated from East Texas State University. They say go Lions. Come on now. Anyway, big game this weekend. With a marketing degree and trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. This one of the smartest things that anyone ever did for me is tell me in my sophomore year, man, get an internship. And I thought, I didn't know what an internship was, right? I'm running around campus, playing football, trying to figure out what girl to chase next, right? Internship, are you kidding me? So I started looking into that. Found out there was a company called Pepsi-Cola that was offering internships. And so I went in and put a little suit on and sat down, and lo and behold, they offered me one. Now, it wasn't really glamorous. I was stocking shelves with Pepsi 6 days a week in the summertime in Texas and Dallas. And let me tell you, that was a hot day. So, but I'll tell you this, they offered me the job in December and I graduated in January. So I call that, they used to call it a plug and play. The reason is you could hang with those guys all summer long and stock shelves, you knew what you were doing. And that's exactly what your entry level position was going to be. So I was a plug and play kid. They knew I could do it because I'd already done it. So they were literally waiting to hand me an offer the minute I stepped off this campus. So lucky for me, that really propelled me into my career. You guys can see up there, I've been around for a long time. I work for a lot of very large companies, Nike, Fisher Scientific. I'm currently the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Interstate Battery. That's sort of the battery company out of Dallas. I've been basically recruiting and managing and forming large sales organizations for the last 27 years. One big piece of advice, another piece of advice I give you, and I'm not going to give you too many because you guys aren't my kids, but I will tell you that if you're looking for a company to go to work for, find a company that's going to invest in you. That's very on board to do a specific job. Companies are looking for people that, if they're looking for people that they can invest in training, they're going to send you to an economics seminar. They're going to send you back to maybe get an MBA. They're going to give you opportunities to go somewhere and learn. Those are the kind of companies that are really going to help you in the long run because they're going to further your business skills. They're going to give you opportunities. And going back to what he said earlier, when you're young and they have a position open in Delaware, go. Don't wait. Don't think about it. There's a promotion. Dallas, and all your buddies are go. Yeah, that's one of the other things that Omaha, Nebraska. All right, not a lot going on in Omaha. Okay? Very cold. I didn't know it was sold, but I was there 18 months and I was promoted again. So the reality of it is, you go and you do well, and the company that's going to invest in you, you will move up quickly. All right. So 1, get an internship. If you haven't gotten one, your ball, go get one. 2 is go wherever the work is, okay? Because you will continue to move up. And companies that see guys or gals that are aggressive and want to go for the next job, they will continue to move you, okay? And to his point, when you're young, you can go anywhere, right? As you get older and start having a wife and kids, it becomes a little tough, all right? So, or husband and children. So anyway, that's my advice.
All right, I'd love to open it because I think there's nothing else that we can emphasize is taking more risks early. Internships, are very critical, and it's more so critical now. I think they would agree than it was 20 years ago or 15 years ago when we graduated from college. Now everyone has an internship because more jobs are offered. So that's very good. All right, does anyone have a question right off the bat?
Hi.
Okay.
So I have a question for all three of you. My name is Malashri. I am a second semester student in business analytics. So this college, as you all know, it's away from the major city and it's not so well familiar for the companies in Dallas, and it's comparatively a small school. But yeah, we are doing good things. But it is considered a small school, I mean, to be honest. So what are the preparation or tips for us? Because you mentioned internship and job being like a big thing for any student. So what are the preparation or tips for school students like us, especially to be like to compete against at the same level like the other school kids where they study in the major city of Dallas and where companies see them and everything. So what preparation and tips you would suggest?
With the same one.
Oh, again? All right. Wow, in preparing. Let me give you this advice. Know what it is you want. I talk to students all the time who can tell me 1,000 things they don't want. Right? But then I ask them, okay, exactly what is it you'd like to have? What is it that you want? And they, just really can't hone in on that for some reason. So spend some quality time understanding what's out there, what attracts you, and what you want. And target some companies that you think your ideal do really great research on them so that you know a lot about them. And target them specifically. And if there's a professional association that company's heavily involved in, maybe you ought to join that. Try to find a way to network to find some contacts within the company. But I'd say rather than shotgunning or casting your net really wide, take a targeted approach. And study the companies that you think you would like to work for and go aggressively at them.
And so you are right. And to, I guess, paraphrase your question, you are right in that, each of these companies that comes out and recruits only has so much of a budget, and they're going to go with the school that's either the closest or maybe this brand name or something like that. And it does put you at, it puts you a little behind, but it's not impossible to overcome. You may have to work a little harder. You may have to look for multiple ways of getting an internship, one through the university, maybe one through a student group, maybe finding it on your own. But companies are looking for great individuals. They're not looking for great company or great universities where we can get some. Yes, that is a little easier. You can go to Austin and you can find 50,000 students in one spot versus, there's only 12,000 students here. But they're looking for great students and great candidates from every university. May have to dig a little harder, but I don't let it deter you. And just take advantage of everything that you can. People that you know, relatives that may live, in the States. And again, like we've stated on the panel, is if they're going to offer you an internship in Boise, Idaho, figure out how it is. Go sleep on someone's couch for a semester. Go stay in a hostel. Go do whatever it takes, because when we hire people, we look for people that are hungry, not, people that have been handed everything in life generally make terrible employees. And the hungrier and the harder that you work, that shines through to the people that are going to be making those decisions.
Yeah, I'll echo that a little bit. I heard a couple of words I really like: hungry and aggressive, right? So I'm a sales guy, so I like hungry and aggressive people. I'll tell you, when I look at stacks of resumes for internships, you know what I look for? I look for differentiation. If everybody looks the same, they go over here. They may be 3.5 GPAs, but they go over here. I want to see what's different about me. What are you going to bring to the table that no one else is going to bring to the table? What have you done that no one else has done? So think about those things. What are your life experiences that you can bring to the table that maybe no one else has? Use the fact that your city is a chip on your shoulder to be more aggressive. Make sense?
Right. Thank you.
Also, write a compelling cover letter.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a unique resume for every company. Don't ever get a form letter kind of resume and send those out.
Yeah.
Take the time to write a unique cover letter and tailor your resume for your target, for the company that you're pursuing.
Okay, I have a question, and I have a list of questions that I was prepared to ask if she was going to ask. And so, how do you best prepare for an interview?
I guess I'd go first. One of the things that I thought Jack said, you have to prepare. I mean, how do you prepare? You have to prepare. So you have to get on their website, understand their business, understand what their value proposition is to their customers and who they are, and the channels that they do business in, why they do business in those channels, who are their major competitors, and then why what's their value, what do they bring to the marketplace that maybe no one knows, what is their differentiator, right? A good thing to do is look at their annual reports. Right? I typically, when I'm looking at customers that I'm going to potentially try to do business with, I want to understand their business as well as I understand mine. That makes you a little bit more educated on them. Secondarily, I think Jack made a good point. If you're looking for a company, look at the culture of the company, right? Is it a good fit for you? Is it something that you'd be interested in being in? There are companies that are religious-based companies. There are companies that are, there's all kinds of companies out there. So things that you have a passion for, right? Those are great ones to go look at, right? But the key thing is be intelligent about who they are and what you're interested in doing for them, okay? And then the other piece is I would say be very, very professional, be on time. And I think the advice you got a minute ago about having a resume that kind of is tailored to what that company is looking for. That company, maybe whatever the position is, if you have experiences in your life that would make you more attractive to that company, add them to the resume for that particular interview. So I think that's great advice.
So I'm not going to disagree with any of that because it's all good information. But I'm going to take a different tact on what I do to be ready for audition. So I always like to look at kind of the physical confines of the interview, because when you're interviewing and when you interview other people, you oftentimes find people that are not prepared to actually have the interview. So some of the tips that I can give you, if you're doing a phone interview, 15 minutes before that interview is going to start, be by yourself, be closed off from animals or children or other coworkers or whatever, and have that phone in your hand. Make sure they have your phone number. Make sure that they have your latest interview or your latest resume. One of the best tricks, and one that my friend swears by now that I've been doing for years, is if you're going to physically go to an interview, drive there the day before. Know exactly where you need to be. Be at the gatekeeper. A gatekeeper would either be a security guard, a secretary, or whatever, and be prepared and ready and standing physically there 10 minutes before your time. This is why I never have early morning interviews or late afternoon interviews. You can make an interview for like 10:30 or 1:30. That way there's no traffic. You don't want to have to deal with any of that. I'm running late. Oh, I forgot to print out the resume. Have all of that done. And that preparedness really shows through, is that I'm not having a phone interview with someone and then there's a dog barking in the background, or I'm driving at the moment. And if you do get those, and sometimes you get a recruiter that just calls you out of the blue, politely ask them to call you back at a better time. You need to be at your best to make your best impression. And to do that, to be prepared, to be calm, to have all these other things that, really are commodities, having your resume printed out, having a nice outfit that's ironed and clean and things like that. Take care of all of that. And then you can just concentrate on what makes you unique and showing that to who's doing the hiring.
I actually have two nice outfits. One time on the way to resume, on an interview, I was early and I had a cup of coffee. I decided I'm too early. I'm just going to take my time driving through the drive-thru at McDonald's. The lid wasn't on good, pulled it all down the front of my shirt. It's hard to find a new shirt at 8:30 in the morning and try and go to an interview. That's a good advice. Just carry extra stuff, just in case.
And if you do, because you may go through multiple runs, and I know your students, and I know there's not a lot of money coming up, but if you do, make sure you have a second outfit, even just to go back for a second interview. For a man, I know suits are very expensive. You can try a different shirt, a different tie. If you're a lady, I don't know how ladies' clothes work. That's my wife's job. But have a separate blouse. Don't look the exact same the second time you're coming in, especially if you're going to meet with someone for a second round. But look a little different.
One other thing I would add to that is have at least a minimum of 5 really well thought out questions. Worst thing you can do is the guy finishes the interview and asks you what questions you have, and I do it every single time I interview somebody. If they have one question or they have no questions, that tells me that they're not that interested in what's going on, right? So, but if someone has, and I've seen them come in and they'll open up their book, and I've had a lady one time, I hired her, She opened up her book and she said, "Do we have time to go through all of these?" And I went, "Absolutely." We went through every single one of them and she got hired. So the point is the more prepared you are, the opportunity you're going to have.
Clarify for them what kind of questions that would be. You don't want them asking questions like, well, what time do I have to get here? What time do I get off? How many days off do I get? That's not the questions.
No, it's a great point. Those are definitely not the type of questions you want to have. The type of questions you want to have are around things around, tell me about your training program. Tell me about the most recent acquisition that you just made that you read about in the annual report. When you go on Google, you can Google news about this company and have 4 or 5 articles that you read about this company, things that they have done recently. And so I'd really like to understand what was your motivation behind this, or kind of how this worked, or you just implemented SAP, how's that going? We were talking about that at lunch. You know, there's a lot of things you can glean off the internet that, quite frankly, we didn't have access to 27 years ago that really will help you be prepared and ask really solid questions. But don't just throw questions out there just because you saw it. Think about what you really want to understand about that company. Tell me about the culture of the company, right? That's a wonderful question to ask. And there's a lot of great questions to think about. You can go online and probably Google what are great interview questions. There are probably 20 pages of them out there. Pick the 3 or 4 that make sense to you. And then it's always great to ask about the position. Tell me what's the expectation for this position. Wow, that's perfect. Here's what and those answers to those questions will lead into you understanding the role more effectively and know if it's a good fit for you, right? Makes sense.
You know how important that piece of advice just was?
Yes.
I'll bet that's $1,000 or $1,500 more in your starting salary in an offer. If they were going to give you an offer anyway, let me pick up on that theme. You've gone to the interview. I'm sitting on the other side of the table. I've done it hundreds of times. What's on my mind? What are the questions in my head as I'm sitting there? There's really just 2. 2 fundamental questions you have to answer in the interview. Number 1, do you have the knowledge, skill, and abilities to do this particular job that you understand I have an opening for? So in the first half of the interview, you're going to probably need to convince me that you have the background and life experiences that you either already know a lot about this particular subject, or that you're a quick study and you're going to be able to pick it up pretty quickly. So the first half of the interview is about knowledge, skill, and abilities. What do you think the second half of the interview is about? If you get there.
How can you adjust to the work culture?
Exactly. How do you fit into the organization? Will you be a good culture? Will you be a good match for the organization, or are you going to be a pain in the butt employee for you to manage? Right? So the second half of the interview, I'm going to try to figure out a little bit about your character, a little bit about your likes and dislikes and personality, team player you're likely to be, and are you going to fit into the culture of my organization? Or maybe you're going to be in the wrong job. So I advise college students real often, take 2 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. And on the first piece of paper, prepare, write down what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities I have for this particular job. And how can I convince Jack that I am a quick study and I'm going to be able to learn what great company like Interstate does and what kind of skills they need. And that I come with some skills and I can pick up the others pretty quickly. That's the first half of the interview. The second half of the interview is how well am I going to fit into Jack and Chuck's organization? Some questions to ask about both of those things. I would ask Chuck about the culture of his organization. Tell me about a day in the life of a salesman at Interstate. What's that like?
It's a 30-minute conversation.
Well, okay, so it'll probably take about 5 minutes to kind of explain what a new hire does that first 6 months at Interstate. I know I could tell you what a new hire does the first 6 months in my organization over at L3 and what my expectations for performance will be and what I'm looking for. And you probably ought to ask him what he's looking for. Because it's a two-way thing. You have to know, am I a fit for this organization? do they meet my expectations, and am I going to live up to what he's expecting? Is this something we both want to do? Yeah.
Mike, is it fair to ask about what percentage of the job is travel? Is it fair to ask,
Certainly.
and how do you get into that? My first corporate job, I was kind of shocked because, in my mind, 8 to 5, I get there, 5 o'clock rolls around, and my boss is still there. He's not getting up leaving. My one person above him is not getting up leaving, and I'm sitting there going, they stay till 7:30 or 8, and I mean, that was a shock for me as coming from a job where you had regular hours. So that might be a possibility. How do you deal with that? Does that come out in this process, right?
Yeah, there are no traffic jams on the extra mile. Are you willing to do what others can't do or won't do? I know my first good professional job, I was free to travel, and they were looking for somebody who was comfortable and was free and had the ability to travel internationally quite a bit. So asking those kind of questions are good, especially if the answers to those questions are in your wheelhouse, right? If you like to travel, right, and you're looking for an opportunity to do that sort of thing, then it's a perfectly great question to ask. And you can try to, if you want to stay in the region and your life situation is such that you can travel a lot, you need to know that early. And they need to know that, because it's probably not going to be a match if Chuck's going to want to send you out of town at least 30% of your time. Right?
Yeah, and I think the cultural question will answer a lot of things about, we work till 8 o'clock at night here, and if you're not interested in doing that, you're not part of the work-life balance, right? So, if you need to be here at 8 o'clock and leave at 5, great. If you want to be here at 6 and leave at 3, that's fine too. And I'll tell you, like I tell all my sales guys, I could care less how much you work as long as you get your numbers.
That's right. Yeah.
You could work an hour a day to play golf with these two guys the rest of the week. If you're hitting your numbers, I'm not interested in what you're doing all day. But the very second you're not hitting your numbers, you've invited me into your life. Right?
Early in my career, I managed an engineering group, and I had one guy that spent the first 30 minutes of every day reading the Wall Street Journal. Okay? And he was a graduate of A&M Commerce, but boy, when he put that paper down, he was a rock star for the next 4 hours. He could get more done than that other UT grad I had could do in a week, simply because he was just that good. And it was about the numbers and what had to get done. So being able to communicate in an interview that you're very results oriented, that you are comfortable even being measured. And it's not about efforts and good intentions. It's really about, can you turn the results in at the end of the week, or end of the month, or end of the quarter?
And rest assured, you will be measured.
You will be measured.
The world out there is not about, it is about what you can do and how well you will do it, or they'll find someone else to do it. So know that the minute you step out, guy told me something, I wasn't sure if I was going to share this or not as well. Guy told me one time when I was working at Pepsi, he said, we're going to shoot a bullet behind you. Your job to keep outrunning that. He goes, but know that it will get you someday. He goes, but you guys got to keep running. And he's right. He's right. You got to keep going. Business is not for the meek. You got to be ready to really get after it. And if you have that kind of spirit, that kind of mentality, you'll do well. If not, find a different thing to focus on.
I have a question. Well, we spoke about how do we crack an interview, but this is more before you get shortlisted. So when you apply for companies, like from my experience, and I think a lot of the fellow friends out here would have this thing that how is the resume shortlisted? Is there is it? I'm sure it's some automation and you're searching some keywords or something like that. So can you tell us something more about that? How would my chance be more compared to the others while picking up a resume?
So I'll answer them. Maybe you guys can jump in.
Sure.
I'm a sales guy, right? So I know what I'm looking for. If you're a 3.5 GPA or 3.9 GPA student and you never worked a job in your life, you go over here. I don't need really smart people who've never done anything. I'll take a 2.5 guy that has worked 3 jobs, busted his tail to get himself through school. He's shortlisted. Okay, a guy that has an internship that knows how to do what I'm needing to be done, he's over here. If you're an average student and you've never worked a job, you're going to be over here, right? So I'm looking for people that know how to do the work, has done the work, okay? And if they're great, that doesn't mean don't do well in classes, do well in classes. But what I'm telling you is I don't look for high GPAs. I look for people that know how to do the work and have put in the time and the effort. Internships and experience and goal orientation, I think Jack talked about that earlier. I like people who want to win. You know, what is success? Great questions that I get from really good candidates are, what does success look like here? Oh, wow, this guy's wants to win already. Well, let me tell you what you need to do, right? So those are the things that differentiate. We talked about differentiation, right? What are the things that you've done in your life that would differentiate you from everybody else? Jack talked about, you know, people who have had things given to them their whole life. They don't make good employees. We send most of those people out within 6 months because they just don't fit, right? They don't understand how to work in a team environment. They don't understand how to be measured. They don't understand how to be coached, right? So be coachable, right? That's another good point. But that's what when I look at resumes, I look for people that are goal-oriented, have work experience, and really fit what I'm looking for, can do the job.
I think one thing that I can add from a technical perspective is that there are, you know, a lot of technical certifications, and that's something that we'd be looking for because it is something that we understand that you along the way. You can get a CompTIA Security Plus, you can get an ISACA CSX, you can get a CompTIA A Plus, and these are things that you can study for on your own and are fairly. But what that shows us is one, when we start to keyword search, because I worked at Dell for many years, and they had, you should see the thousands of resumes we would get for any position, just because people wanted to say they worked at Dell. And I'm sure this happens at Google and Facebook and things. Someone, well before it ever gets to anyone at this table, is cutting that list down. So we may get, I may in the end get 7 or 8 resumes. So how do you get through the computer, the HR rep, and maybe a junior associate or something like that, is your resume does have to stand out. I have a certification, because that shows us that this is something that I don't have to teach you. That means you're that much farther along. If you want to consider that you and everyone else that is applying for this job is in a race, that's a head start that you get, because I don't have to teach you this, you know, security thing, or I don't need to teach you this Microsoft thing, because it's already been certified by someone else. We know it's a known quantity, and we know that you put in the work. You saw it that a lot of students aren't. You aren't seeing a lot of people getting certifications while they're in college. You see it mostly after. But if they're taking the time over break or winter semester or whatever to go out and get these, it is putting you ahead. It is differentiating you, and it's just another data point that we can take to say that, oh wow, they're doing well in school. Oh wow, they went out and passed an industry standard. And that definitely is going to make an individual stand out comparative to, you know, the students that, you know, said, oh well, I worked at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but how does that make you valuable to me? I don't need you to put fries or make milkshakes or whatever. I need something that aligns much better with what my organization is and what my organization's goals are.
But along with what you just said, if you worked at McDonald's and went to school 18 hours and have a 3.5 GPA, and then that needs to come out in your interview. They might not put all that together from that resume. You want to bring out that you can work hard, that you're committed, and you can accomplish multiple things. It's a big thing to them. They want to see that, even if it was just McDonald's.
Right, and your resume is really your audition, is the first audition that you're giving to show that you are unique, that the unique attributes that make up you. You know, you worked to put yourself through school, or you're a veteran, or you took 2 years off to volunteer or do something like that, or care for a sick relative or something like that. That resume is your first audition with me, with someone at this table, to convince me or convince us that you have a you have a place in that you are going to be positive for that. And whatever it is, and whatever triangulation of whatever makes you up, make sure that that stands out.
I have read on internet that the first few minutes, in the first 5 to 7 minutes, the panel is going to decide whom they want to hire. Is it true that you guys judge very fast? This is one question, and I have a specific question for LP later.
Okay. So I will tell you that I can tell you the people that we're not going to hire right off. So if you come in with a dirty T-shirt on and you're not organized and you don't know who you're interviewing with, or you're late, or your cell phone goes, those are all triggers that say this person is not mature enough for what I need. Now, let's just say that's your first third of the people. If I'm interviewing 10 people, okay, 3 of them or whoever, they're out. And then as we go through the technical portion of the interview, like Mr. Jackson, that then we'll start to weed some of those out. And then when we get to this fit portion, you are really looking. It's a triangle, right? We start with a pool and we start thinning the herd as it goes up. I probably don't know who I'm going to hire until after the interview is over, and I confer with the other people that are either on the panel, or I talk to another manager that they had an interview with. But I'm pretty close. I'm probably down to 1 or 2 people. Or I can tell you that by the end of the interview of just me being there, that I can tell you the people that won't be. I can say that none of these people are a good fit. And you'll see that sometimes. But I would not want to make a decision in a vacuum, because I could be having a bad day, or I could read you wrong, or I could misunderstand something culturally, and I don't want to put my bias without working with other people, and hopefully they have different viewpoints than I do, different levels of experience, different parts of the department that come in, and then we can kind of collaborate. But you are right in that there are definitely people that by the minute they walk in the door, they're already off the list.
There's something I'll add to that, and that's all really good. You also need to be thinking about the fact that you're interviewing the company as well. Okay, you have to be interviewing them as well, not externally, right? You're not asking, you're not trying to. But the point is, you have to be comfortable in their fit and what they're going to be able to offer you to further your. Okay, if they're not going to give you training, if they're not going to support you with resources, if they're going to throw you in your house and to give you a computer and say good luck, it may not be a good fit for you, right? So you got to be thinking about those things as you're going through the interview as well. Makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're talking about fit, there are 2 things. One, cultural fit, and the technical fit. Cultural fit, I understand. But the technical fit, how we are going to fit the candidates, like the more technical, more aligned with the requirement, you're going to hire that person, or you're going to give chance to the person who can learn, or how does it work basically?
So what if I came in, what if you interview with me and I said, yep, I'm hiring for a Windows 95 developer. Are you interested in me anymore? No. And there's a lot of interviews that we've all sat in. Anyone at this table has sat in, and we, by the end of that interview, we find that it isn't good. Now, maybe cultural, 100% travel. You need to move to Alaska. You need to whatever. But there are definitely, maybe it's a technical skill set. Maybe you, are not interested in, we're really going into DevOps and agile development. You're like, I think that's a valid point, but maybe that's not for me, or maybe maybe that's not something that I want to do. You have to give yourself kind of a roadmap in your own mind of, I only want to work for 5 years and then I want to go to get an MBA, or the job that you have and the company employee has to be a reciprocal kind of agreement. You need to get as much out as we get from you. If you're just coming in to just say, you pay me enough money not to do something else, those aren't good employees for us, and for you that doesn't make you want to stay. And it's very expensive for us to hire people. It's very time consuming to hire people, and it's very risky for us to bring in new people because there is a lot of time and effort and fit and all these other things that go into it. But do yourself a favor is that it's never a good choice to say, I didn't like what this company's doing. I'm not interested in what their mission is or what the technologies they're in. I don't really care about it, but it's just a paycheck and it pays the bills right now. You won't be happy. No matter how much they're paying you, they could be paying you exorbitant amounts of money. and you'll still want to leave because you have to get more out of it than just a paycheck.
Let me ask you what, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we were talking about experience and having an internship and something like that. But what if I'm a marketing guy? I'm doing a transition change into business analytics. I'm desperately looking out for a break so that some company can give me some professional exposure, or where I can use all the knowledge that I've acquired while I'm in school. At the same time, companies are looking for someone who have experience, who worked on these tools or on these softwares in a professional environment. How do you think that I can convince a recruiter saying that, though I'm new, I'm willing to learn, or I'm looking out for a break and then I'm looking out for an exposure?
Well, I have thought that.
I'll start out.
Yeah, start out and let me jump in.
So when you're talking about analytics or going from one to the other, so the tool set's not the same. In marketing, in business analytics, let's say we're going to use Tableau, where it wasn't, in your program in marketing. There's other ways of getting an education outside of being in these four walls. Close your eyes, close your ears, not too much. But there are tools like Udemy or Udacity or all these other kind of tools that again were not available when we were in school. One, it shows that you're going after this. You are, to a recruiter or to a hiring manager, understanding your limitations is very valuable. In saying that, I did not do I haven't done an internship yet in business analytics, but I'm, willing to work for it, and I've gone and done these things to make up my detriment. So I think that's very important. And like I said, there are lots of different ways to learn. And Professor Linares, who is your ISACA rep and a friend of Dr. Myers, him and I coined a phrase called that we're in an era of education plus, in that you're not going to get jobs or be successful in your fields if you're just like, well, I've got a high school diploma or A levels or whatever is in your that you've gotten, or I've got a bachelor's degree, I'm good for life now. That isn't happening anymore. You're going to need a bachelor's degree and a certification, or a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and certification. It's the people that are continuing to move forward that are the people that are successful. And if they are training seminars or going and being part of professional organizations or learning on the side or any of these things, continues to push you forward and then to push you out in front of all the other candidates. So just because it isn't taught within these four walls, or it wasn't taught to you in high school or whatever, doesn't mean that you can't. And it doesn't mean that you can't show that you have skill in it. And that just is a different way than, well, I went to school, my parents paid for it, they taught me a lot of things, I'm good to go now. That is not a recipe for success.
If you have two candidates in front of you, one with X amount of experience, and there's a guy who's fresh and who's someone like me.
So we're generally not interviewing for the same role. So if I have a person that's 3 years out of college and someone who's an intern or something like that, you need to make sure that you're applying for the roles that best fit your skill set. When we hire interns or we hire new college grads, we have an expectation of what you do know. But I'm not going to say, oh, this person has a PhD and this person is a sophomore in college, and let's let them go head to head for the same job. That doesn't work out like that. You want to make sure that you're competing against people that are at the same level as you, and that you're the best. You're the best of your bunch, right? Mm-hmm. So people at this table are a bunch, people that are undergrad are a bunch, people in grad school are a bunch. Make sure that you're the best of your bunch, and that is what will make you stand out for the roles that you're qualified for. We're not going to interview you or put you in a position that you're not going to be successful, because again, it's very risky and very expensive for us to do.
So you were talking about the certification. So my question is, what kind of certification will add value? Is it from any companies, or you say Udemy, Udacity, or any recognized university?
So there's different levels to this, right? So you have your formal education, your 4-year degree, your master's degree, your PhD programs. You have your certifications, which are generally run by professional organizations, IEEE, ISACA, things like that. Or they may be run by companies, Microsoft, IBM, SAP, things like that. And then you have these kind of new players in the market, in that they are still providing education. certification, Udemy, Udacity, some kind of, there is a structure, there is kind of a format to it. Those are, some companies recognize them, some companies don't. But I think that the more that you do, and the more that you can put in your inventory of skill sets and certifications and things like that, the better. As long as it's pushing you forward the path that you want to go down, I don't really, I don't see a problem with that. Now, I'm not asking you to go out to barber college and learn how to cut hair because it's a certification. Or, I'm certified to drive a school bus. Those aren't going to get you probably where you want to go. But, as long as it's relevant and it's structured, I think that we're going to take that with a lot of seriousness, and that it's something that you put into your inventory of skills.
Raise your hand if you have a LinkedIn profile.
Nice.
That's really good. You guys are way ahead of the game. So that's important, right? Because that's how you get searched. That's how people understand who you are and what you're about. The other thing is we talked about was networking, right? I think that was one of the things that was on here. It would shock each and every one of you really just how many people are in your network that you don't even think about. I'll tell you that 3/4 of the jobs that I've gotten in my life is not because I've sent in a resume. It was because somebody knew me, right? So if you're just sending in resumes to every job that you see on Indeed.com or whatever, that's going to be a challenge, right? But people who know you will recommend you. People who know what you have to offer will bring you onto their company, right? So your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, colleagues, people you go to church with, you play intramural sports with, they all have people that they work with and know, right? You got to tap into that network, right? You have to make sure that they know who you are, especially if you're in the process of looking for a job. That's critical, especially even if you're looking for an internship, right? Let everybody know you're looking for an internship. Here's what I want to do. Here's kind of what I'm looking for. Let everybody know. Do not be shy about that, right? Somebody will come back. My uncle works at DuPont. Absolutely, right? So make sure you really tap in and develop that network, not just on your LinkedIn side, but on your personal side as well.
One more question actually. So when we were talking about having a conversation during an interview where we should talk about result-oriented experience or something that you've achieved. So my question to you is, I sometimes feel that it's not bragging, but where should I cut down if I have a lot of recognition or some achievements in my professional?
Well, you have so many that you just can't list them all.
No, I don't know if it's too much or too less when I'm talking, when I'm going for an interview.
So it's your opportunity to shine, right? This is it. Take the best ones that fit the company that you're looking for and utilize them. You're absolutely, this is you bragging on you. You want them to think, wow, this kid's unbelievable, right? I've had kids sit there and twirl their tie all the way up and look at me and go, I have nothing to say. And I've had other kids that come in that have had, I was in a leadership role in this. Here's the things we accomplished. I was in the leadership role. Those are the kind of kids you're looking for. Again, you're trying to differentiate yourself through your resume, right? So how do you do that? You pick the ones that you feel are the most, the biggest deals, the biggest things you've done, accomplishments that you've had in your career and your life experience, and that's what goes on your paper, right? And that's what you focus on. And be comfortable talking about them. Don't read them, right? Don't sit there and go, I was the valedictorian of my class. No. He's going to read that, right? He's going to understand, can you converse effectively back with him about your accomplishments, right? And so have a few of them, but don't overload it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for because I don't, yeah.
Go ahead.
That's what I wanted to know, if it's too much or too less when it comes to talking about your achievements in the past.
Talk specifically, if you get a chance, about projects that you have worked on in your experience that involve teamwork and team plays. If you, let's say you're a business analytics student and you're graduating with a degree, talk about a project that you worked on with 2 or 3 other people in an assignment and the experience of working, with a team to come to a collaborative different. You know, I'm a management professor, and all the books that are written on leadership would probably fill up this room. All the books on how to be a great team member would probably fit really nicely right there. There's probably about 4 of them ever been written. You want to communicate to me that you're not some lone wolf, that you're going to fit into the organization well. You've worked on teams before, either you were in team sports, right, or you've worked on projects at school, and you're comfortable being a contributor. Because most millennials join the company, it's been 18 months and they're surprised they're not the vice president yet.
We see a lot of that. A lot of that.
You know, I've been here a year and I'm not a director yet. You know, that's very millennial.
Scott,
yeah.
my students, and every class except one has a team project, and every semester goes all semester. Every students, on with my team. I want to do it on my own. I want to do it on my own. And I'll finally just give up and say, okay, do it on your own. But I'm sitting there marking it in my mind. When I go back and you ask me to make a recommendation, I'm not going to say much good for you if you couldn't work out. And I know there's some jerks in the students out there that don't do their part and stuff, but you address it through the group throughout the semester. You don't come to the end of the semester and say, well, I just couldn't get along with them, so I did my own. Exactly with what you're saying. But if you were the team leader and you work through that, this is when you talk about it. One time I was on a group, and here's what the problem was. And I could have just said I quit, but instead I worked. I mean, you don't have a lot of experience. You better be looking for situations like that to describe.
Yeah, I'm going to want to understand what kind of contributor you are and what you're like in a team environment, because I don't have a lot of applications that are single assignments. Very often you're going to be assigned to a team that's going to have a collaborative output, and the whole team's going to be judged based upon the kind of contribution that was made and how well the team got organized. There's some jobs that may be individual sales jobs, and go out on your own, but most often it involves collaborative product and collaborative activity. So you want to talk about your experience with teams?
Unless you're running a sole proprietorship and you're the only employee of your company, which there are people. I have met people that are fantastic at what they do, but they can only work with themselves, who are going to be on a team. And that's kind of something that we see as and I'll just take computer science, for example. We hire computer science people. We see a lot of people that are very good at programming by themselves on their laptop. The skill set to then move them on to working in someone else's work, working at these large is a jump. It's not teach well in U.S. colleges. So, like the professor said, it is definitely anything that you can show that you can work within a team, that you can take orders, that you can give orders, that you are willing to people to meet a greater goal than you could attribute by yourself is something that's very valuable to any company. Any company of 2 people or more is very interested in your team. You will work with somebody. And
if you've successfully led a group project, that's something you want to major on in the second half of your interview.
Can we go back to networking? This answers specific questions. What is networking? How do you network? How do you do it more effectively? What have you learned throughout your career to do better, in a networking environment? The reason I bring this up is we take students to these professional opportunities, and I try to, at the beginning, talk a little about networking. And obviously, at times we've done it a day or 2 or even a week ahead. So that way they can be a little more prepared. But sometimes, there's not the opportunity to know which students are going, because we have which students we take up 10. Share some, networking advice that you have in mind that for lessons learned. So
I'll say this: all of the most successful salespeople and marketing people that I've ever worked with, on a team with, have been excellent networkers. Right. So For example, now I manage a team of national account people that are focusing on data centers, right? So data centers are kind of a big thing, and they're growing like crazy right now. And there are a ton of networking events around the products and the technologies that are going in and out of data centers. And most of these are hosted by large manufacturing companies or OEMs or DC power companies or whatever. They'll have networking events in Dallas or in Houston or whatever city you're in. And they're in most cities. They're easily searchable by Google. And our key national account guys go to every single one of them. They do because they get to meet all the facilities people, all the IT folks, all the engineering staff that go to these events. They usually have a few cocktails and they get to understand kind of what some of their business needs are, and then they can share with them in a fairly less formal setting, you know, kind of what our value proposition is, and potentially set up appointments and those kind of things. But it also gives them opportunities to speak sometimes. So I've been to several of them where they've asked me to come up and speak, and I do a quick presentation on some new technology we've got coming out, or I have a technical guy come in and do the same thing. So companies and professional organizations are looking for opportunities to do these, and they're all over the place. So take advantage of them, because I can tell you they're free. Free's a great thing, right? Especially when you're starting out of college. I've gone and met college kids that have shown up at these in suits looking for a job. A couple of them got a job. So I'll tell you that feel free to do that as well. But networking events by professional organizations or even large OEM type manufacturers are great opportunities for them.
Guys, at that point, you ask for a business card, you write a thank you. Maybe it's in your resume.
To add to that, I think one of the strongest things you can do is have your what we'll call elevator pitch. When I come up and I say hello to you at an event or at a cocktail hour or something like that, if I say, "Hi, my name's Jay, tell me about yourself," and then you go, "My name's Barbara," and then that's it. I'm gonna go on. Have your pitch. Hey, I'm Nigel, and I'm a student here at Texas A&M Commerce. I'm a junior. I'm majoring in analytics. I'm really looking forward to getting an internship next summer. That's just as simple as that. Have a 15 to 30 second. Make that encounter. Make the most of it that you can. Make it memorable. I once had a student hand me a business card. It said James, University of Pittsburgh, student on it. And it had a student email. I thought that was pretty unique. But how am I going to walk away from that and remember you? Because if I shake, and probably know better than I do, you can shake 100 hands. I can bear the names of like my godchildren. There's like 3 of them, and I'm terrible with names. So how are you walking away from that interaction? How are you walking away from that opportunity and putting your best foot forward? If you're dressed, if you're polite, if you smile, if you have a firm handshake, whatever it takes for you to do it is to be memorable to me. That puts you that much farther ahead, other than, "Hi, the crackers and cheese are real nice." It's not something that, make yourself stand out in all of these. And I think in every one of these questions that we're going to be asked today, you're competing against dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of other people. How are you standing out so that I go, "Oh, wow, yeah, that person," or I see your resume come in later, or I see you in a stack of resumes because you applied to a job with my company. How do I differentiate you from the other 99 handshakes that I had that day?
Another tip on your crackers and cheese joke: you don't want to spend your time eating the snacks at those mixers and drinking the drinks.
Yeah.
Shaking hands. You don't want a plate in your hand. You want to be shaking hands, maybe a resume in your coat, a card or something, but you don't want to be the one standing at the food bar.
Now, at the end of the night, you can clean them out. That stuff's just going to be thrown away. You take that.
You might go to one of these events with a buddy, but don't stand in the corner and talk to your buddy. Okay? Compete with your buddy on how many people you can be introduced to. You need to practice this. Opportunities to go network and socialize. It's like playing baseball. You're only going to get better at it by swinging at pitches. Okay? And the more at bats you get, the better you get at it.
It could be either a baseball or a cricket joke,
Or a cricket.
depending on your.
Cricket's
depending on
harder. It's a much harder
It's a
ball.
much bigger bat.
It's a much harder ball to hit. Have you ever seen that thing come in spinning and bouncing?
Yeah.
I played baseball. Cricket's harder. But anyway, get practice, because you're not necessarily going to be great at it first time at bat. And it usually doesn't cost that much to get practice. And you might actually meet somebody. I definitely sign on to the idea of the elevator speech and have something aspirational in it. Here's what I've done briefly. Here's what I'd like to do next. I'm looking for an opportunity to contribute in this way or that way. I'm finishing up my graduate work, and I'm looking for a really great company because I'd really like to look into this next. Yes.
Jack, one of the things that I try to encourage them to do is, if you don't have a lot of job experience, do some volunteer work. When I first got out of college, I did volunteer work for the Chamber of Commerce. I did a marketing page for them, or I did something for the Arts Alliance or whatever. For one, you need a lot of influential people. But then you got something else to put on the resume field of what you do. Believe me, every organization, volunteer organization, needs somebody helping with their website right there, with business analytics, with just about anything, and they'll take volunteers. Goes on your resume and you meet people. That's the first thing you can do is volunteer.
Great point. Yes.
So my question is, there's a job fair has happened, career fair has happened a few weeks ago in our campus. L3 has came in. I went to all the places. I stopped at L3 as well. A lot of people gave me free pens, pencils, rubbers, stress balls. You guys gave us a small spare parts. I went home and opened it. It's an assembly aircraft with 4 parts with L3 on it. So it's an L3 aircraft. But as you just mentioned, even though I'm interested, you guys are not offering internships or jobs to international students.
That's correct. Unfortunately. And there's great talent here that, because of the security things that they do there, they can't take advantage of some of the great talent.
There's no question. I just want to give this information.
Yes.
I have a question regarding working for a government organization or a place like L3. What could an international student do if they didn't have a security clearance or prior experience in the particular field that they would be applying for?
You can start. You can start.
So I think there's kind of two things you can look at. A lot of the defense companies are getting into the commercial space. We are, as defense contractors, we are limited by, there's only so many governments out there. The federal government, the U.S. government, limits the number of other countries that we can sell products to. So there's only so much money to be made there. So almost every defense contractor is now getting into some commercial space. Most of these defense contractors are either aerospace or cybersecurity or whatever. So there are positions that are now for international. I think the other piece that you can look at is that a lot of these companies have international presence. Boeing is worldwide. Raytheon is worldwide. Lockheed Martin is worldwide. So there are positions, especially in translation or business development overseas or things like that, that we do need people that are more familiar with those locations, with those languages and things like that. So it is possible. It's a smaller subset. You are correct. Both of you are correct in that it's a smaller subset. But there are still jobs for what we'll call non-U.S. citizens. It's just the easiest way to put it. But there are, and I see that trend continuing. We can only sell so much to the federal government, the military, or to NASA, or whoever these organizations are. We can only sell so much. And that's why you've seen so much consolidation in years. When we both started our careers, there were many, many defense companies. Chrysler, automotive had a defense company. TI in Dallas had a Texas Instruments. Pretty much every company had some defense work, and now it's consolidated into just a few players. And because we just couldn't make enough money to make all these companies viable. But now that they're trying to branch out and we can sell what we call dual use, you can put this on a military aircraft and you can put it on a civilian aircraft. There are definitely positions opening up in those non-military customers that you can apply for and be successful in.
That's exactly right.
I got a question I want to focus on. Could each of you talk about your career field to some extent? Because we actually touch on that. You know, the job market for your career field, and maybe even your term outlook. You know, marketing include digital, which is slightly different from sales. That touch on business analytics.
Yeah, so, you know, with the advent, obviously, of the internet over the last 20 years, business analytics is huge, right? So our marketing department spent a ton of time trying to understand who is going into our website, why, what products they're interested in, how long they've been on that page, all the analytics around it. And they're able to give that information to another portion of the marketing department to create, drive awareness, whichever way they want to go, which helps us, you know, with our value proposition from a sales. And then where they're heading, where the trends are associated with those customers. It's a little bit, what we do, a little bit more on the distribution side. If you're looking at retail, people like Nike, people, that is a massive understanding of their Google of analytics, right? Looking at who their key customers are, their verticals, from a geographic standpoint, from a geographic standpoint, and then understanding what trends are in the marketplace that they need to be looking at from a new product perspective and a product development perspective. In terms of where I'm at today at Interstate Battery, you know, we probably spend a good amount of time in the sales department understanding that, which helps us really kind of understand our pitches a little bit better with our key customers, because we call people like Costco, people like Firestone. So having a good understanding of their analytics as well, give us that information so that we can help do joint marketing from time to time. That's a big deal. But it's really important for us, for a matter of fact, to understand their business as well as we understand ours, because our business are conjoined. We're selling our products through their outlets. Make sense?
I'm going to talk a little more generalized. I know there's a few international students in there. So I'm not going to talk about defense or government contracting. I just want to talk about cyber and just kind of the cybersecurity field in general. And as I mentioned last year when I was here, if you saw me talk then, that we have tens of thousands of roles that are today they're going unfilled, and that projected will continue to be significantly behind the ball on training, hiring, and developing cybersecurity professionals in this country and also worldwide. This is a continual threat that will grow, you know, year after year. The threats are different than they were in the past. They are being more sophisticated. They're better funded. And we're starting to see much more from a, you know, where we have this kind of Hollywood picture in our mind. We're Bollywood, of this, you know, guy in a basement breaking into the White House computer system or something like that. You know, these are more and more being funded by nation states, being funded by criminal organizations, being funded by, you know, companies that are projected as legitimate for-profit companies that actually have, you know, behind the scenes are doing illicit things. It is a great market. It is definitely putting the driver's seat into those who are going into this field. And I think two other things. One, it's inflating salaries because you are having more companies than you have more positions open than you have individuals, so that you're in the driver's seat in that you are going to be able to command a much more greater salary. And the other thing that we're seeing is that you are able to progress through organizations, through security organizations, or through a regular, you know, for-profit organizations that have security teams much more quickly than you would find in accounting or finance or sales, where, you know, you can move up to these positions much more quickly as you gain experience and show your skill sets, because those positions are open. It's not like cybersecurity is something we've had for hundreds of years. This is a fairly new, in the grand scheme of all the jobs that you could apply for, cybersecurity is probably the newest, you know, job vertical. There aren't people out there with 50 years of you know, cybersecurity experience that you're competing with. There aren't people out there with 30 years. There might be one or two, but you know, they're not. You are starting at the forefront of this industry, so therefore you can move faster and take on roles, higher roles with more pay, more seniority, more you know, things like that than you would if you were in accounting, in sales, in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, where there's just so many people in front of you in line that, you know, this is kind of like when you look out, there's no one ahead of you. and really take advantage of that compared to, like I said, many other job fields where there's that many people that have earned it over a period of years that are ahead of you that you would just be told you have to wait your turn. You're not going to come in and be that director in year two.
Here's a thought I have on a little bit of a different track. My perception is that there are orders of magnitude difference in the skills of data analytics people. Let me see if I can explain what I mean. These days, it's not just about collecting the data and turning the crank and running an algorithm and the answer pops out. It's the individuals that are able to determine what data needs to be collected and how it needs to be interpreted and presented. And that requires, in my mind, a special skill set. And it's not unlike the kind of skill sets that are required for, let's say, programmers, computer science people, because there are orders of magnitude different in the creativity of individuals who take this on. My sense is that the demand for people who are in the upper quartile of skills is going to be extremely high. And they're going to be especially well paid individuals because there's a tsunami of data out there right now. And the current tools, I think, do a decent job of collating and sorting, but the ability to do the interpretation of the data and to extract implications from the data, and what does this mean to some executive? If I'm sitting there and my data analytics folks come in to me, I'm one of those kind of guys that really has a strong reliance on data. I really believe in data-driven decision making, as opposed to those genius creative types who have a brilliant moment of insight, like Steve Jobs. I'm more like Jeff Bezos kind of guy. Takes tons and tons of data and then makes implications from it. You're one of those individuals who has the keen insight to be able to look through that cloud of data and pull out the key important things, and you can extrapolate that into the implications it means for the business executive and what you should draw from it. Those are skills you should try to hone going forward. And if you're sitting in a job interview with me and we're trying to hire a business analyst, that you are in fact one of those analytical people who can find that nugget that might be hidden in that haystack of data. And that you have the creativity to be able to present that information to a busy executive in terms they can understand. And it's not just, I'm going to throw all that data out there, guys. Now you guys figure out what that means. It's a special skill set. And if you have that skill, you're going to be especially well rewarded.
I actually love that takeaway because I think that is one thing that, as we were talking earlier, I was relating to them, how we tended to target our program. And it's more toward the Fortune 500 companies who want to have data, who are going to have some specific requirements and be probably more team oriented. And so we have kind of skewed our we've skewed some of the specifications of what's in the program toward those, because we have a large international student body in our programs. So that is some really to take away, because we are trying to get students to the Fortune 500 companies. And we have, I believe it's 8 to 10 Fortune 500 companies where students have been hired. We've only had a year of graduates, so it's been kind of golden for us, at least initially. Any other questions? We only just got a few more minutes. No, we just got a few more minutes. Both.
I
Actually, I'm not the student of business analytics. I'm a student of MBA. So in our MBA, general MBA program, we will have to select two elective courses. If I take business analytics as an elective course, how will be the opportunity for ours in internship program or job field?
I think it's like that.
Or if I select business analytics as a minor?
So when I teach, a lot of times that I want to say to the students is when you come out of my class, I don't need you to be an expert. That's not what you're in this class for. But what I want you to do is to walk away, and when you're in a business meeting next year or the year after, I want you to ask pointed questions. I want you to understand the general concept of what's going on. And I want you to be able to contribute to the overall discussion and direction. Your expertise may not be, maybe your expertise is finance or accounting or marketing or whatever it is, but because you have that knowledge, you can contribute on these other projects or programs or things like that. And what you should really be looking to take away is, can I ask pointed questions? Can I not look like a fool in a meeting? And can I, if I choose to pursue this later, go on and pursue it on my own? You're not going to learn everything you need to know in these hallways. We're going to get you started, but you need to take that and run with it the way that you're going to fit it into your career.
Can I ask a question on a trend on that? Exactly what she's asking. Are y'all looking more for someone who specializes in one thing that's very specific on business analytics, or are you looking for a broader degree and a broader understanding? I think that's had some change in the last few years. What are y'all looking for? So you see the degree.
So I think the degree is the minimum, but what we want to see is the ability to work with diverse tool sets. So, maybe we would have been looking for Tableau 2 or 3 years ago, and today I'm interviewing for Splunk, and how this data aggregates or things like that. So the tools are always going to change, no matter if you've been out of school 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years. I personally am looking for more generalist and knowing that you have done something. I'm not expecting you to know 50 different tools, but I would like you to know, more than an inch deep on 1 or 2 tools.
You get down a little bit deeper. Pure MBA or an MBA with a specialization?
How are you going to stand out in the crowd?
Chris, I'm asking for the department.
No, I think that's very
We're approaching the MBA with minors and concentrations and stuff. We're talking about that a lot. And there was a time where you wanted somebody that was good at, generalist at all, and that way they could tailor to the job. I think I'm seeing a little bit more specialization needed to stand out.
Well, I think the job market in and of itself has changed. And for anyone at this table, when we first came out of school, there were a lot of companies investing in a lot of training dollars at the time. Oh, just get your degree in JP Morgan will take you and teach you the JP Morgan way. Or you work for, TI Leadership Institute. With the downturn and with profitability, the demands of profitability by Wall Street, a lot of those programs have gone away. We're not looking to bring in someone and train them up for 2 years and then have them contribute. We're looking for people to contribute, quickly, because we're not going to keep these people for 30 years or 40 years or things like that. That's not how we manage and maintain our careers anymore. So some specialization is better in that, I can get a recent college grad or a fresher or whatever it is, in whatever country we're hiring in, and we can get them to do some work, straight up that they're contributing back. They're not, just being a person that I send paychecks to, that they're actually contributing to the organization. Again, we have expectations of what you can learn in school, or what tools you're going to be able to get, or what your textbooks are going to tell you. But they're, again, that specialization is, again, putting that person at the front of that herd. And that is just that much less that I have to invest in that person, and the faster my return is going to be once they get within our organization.
We've talked a lot about networking and building our skill sets. Would you say that seeking out somebody to be somewhat of a mentor or a short-term mentor, either through an internship or as a referral, would be something that would be valuable, or that a superior might be comfortable doing or taking the extra time to do for a junior level position or an intern?
That answer is absolutely. And it depends if you're in a current job, like for example at Interstate Matter, we have mentorship programs, right? So most of our young out of school folks, they're assigned to a mentor, and they meet with them. I think they meet with them monthly or quarterly, and they talk about the different things, career pathing advice, project work, what are they going to do next, those kind of things. But absolutely, and I'm not sure about, I don't think we have a mentoring one for the intern, but I know we do it for new hires. I think it's usually a 1-year deal, but it's been a really, really good program. I've got 2 of them. And by the way, they take a lot of time. One of the things I wanted to address was when you talked about you're looking at some coursework. We talked about this at lunch, actually. If I had to go back, and I was a marketing major, ended up being in mostly in sales, but if I had to go back and say, what would I take extra in? Finance classes. Right? At some point in your career, you're going to get to a level where you're looking at P&Ls and profitability, income statements, all those kind of things. And it's better to have that in your background so that you understand it versus having to go learn it. Okay, so if I had to give anybody advice in here, if you're a marketing or a management major, and you're looking for, if you have a few extra classes that you need, take some finance classes. They can't do anything but help, I promise you.
So I have a question for Sir J. Dillon. So at Raytheon, for business analytics interns, what top 3 of you skills you are looking for? You just mentioned that 2 years ago you guys considered Tableau, but now you are considering Splunk, right? So like that. For business analytics.
Oddly enough, Excel, Splunk, and probably still Tableau. Raytheon's a very large, disparate company, so different divisions have different tools of choice. But we are heavily getting into Splunk, both from a security and from a data aggregation. We're finding that and I guess the best way to say it is we are data rich and knowledge poor. They have decided that Splunk was a great tool to aggregate multiple different data streams out of the manufacturing floor, out of our IT security system, out of our sales portals, and things like that, our marketing, Google Analytics and things like that, and throwing these all together and looking for trends across the business. So I would say that Splunk is for us, and I think overall is a really interesting tool to start learning. I know they are very aggressive. So talk about marketing. They're very aggressive in getting the word out about their company, and I think they do a lot of free events. I know that in January they're doing a free 1-day programming event in Dallas. Looking at them or some of the other kind of vendors, there's a lot of things that you can learn for free, just off these vendors, either Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure, or things like that. But technology platforms. Created ourselves. The government asks us not to. The customers are now asking to shelf because it's much safer for me.
Everybody ought to have at least intermediate skills in Excel. What do you think?
At least.
Even if you're going to be a marketing person.
You're either going to get data or send data in Excel at some point. And the data that you receive, don't expect it to be clean. You do not expect it to be clean.
You're going to have to manipulate it. So you're going to need some intermediate skills in Excel. Somebody will send you a spreadsheet. You're going to have to mess with it.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Well, wait a minute. We're going to go ahead and stop it because we're almost out of time. And what I want to do is thank our guests. Please give them a round of applause. Okay, I'm going to go ahead in advance, invite you guys back next time. Because I think it's been very eye-opening for most of the students. Is there anyone that didn't learn anything? Even I learned quite a few things, only because of the way, like maybe some of the things that we should think about in differentiating ourselves for the marketplace. Because we have to do the same thing. And as they're talking about, you got to offer, good value proposition to the company. Well, we got to offer it. Actually, now we're offering to them through you. trying to get them find you jobs, because if you have the credentials, of course they want to hire you. So it's been kind of a huge help for me as well, because as Scott said, we talk about Dr. Bohan, we talk about what a program should be doing and what should be included in the program, what skill sets, what software, those types of things. So thank you each very much.
Thank you.
Now, before we leave, we kind of always do a picture, and we're going to have them come up front, and we'll kind of surround them. Oh,
That's
yeah.
for them.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
This is my difference.
There you go.